This is Anime Ricochet. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Anime Ricochet, the premier anime podcast of the Nerd Blaze. My name is Jeff. With me, as always, is the rapper formerly known as Jacoby. His name is Kobe. How are you, Kobe?
My name is Kobe, and that is my name. I am ready to play this game, and This is why I am now a podcast co-host and no longer a rapper.
That was pretty good. Actually, that was pretty good. You had a rhyme.
I did have a rhyme, and that's that.
You still got it, man.
90% of rapping is rhyming.
Exactly. Anyways, speaking of rapping, we're going to be talking about a tennis anime.
Man, we're so good at segues. I just every
flawless.
episode we just get better and better with how we transition to the shows we're talking about.
At an exponential rate, we are improving.
We are unstoppable. Yes, tennis.
The name of the anime in question is Baby Steps. Shall we get into Baby Steps, Kobe?
Oh, let's do this.
So, Baby Steps is an anime based off of Hikaru Katsuki's manga of the same name. It was serialized in Weekly Shonen magazine since October 2007, and the story follows Ichiro Maruo as he dives into the world of tennis. I believe the manga series is still continuing, still ongoing.
Still kicking.
The anime was first released in April 6, 2014, and it went until September 20th, 2015, spawning 2 seasons. Baby Steps was directed by Misahika Murata, who worked on Naruto and Lupin III, and was produced by the studio known as Pierrot, which is renowned for Bleach, Naruto, Yu Yu Hakusho, and Tokyo Ghoul. So some pretty legendary shonen manga / anime stuff there. In this review, we're just going to be talking about Season 1 of the anime, which has 25 episodes. We're going to be we'll be discussing minor spoilers ahead, but we will have a full-on spoiler section towards the end. So yeah, let's jump right into it, eh, Kobe?
Let's do this. I couldn't have said it better myself.
So, usually, we start off by discussing the characters of the anime. And so, let us start off by talking about the main man himself. His name is Eiichiro Maruo. And I want to call him Churro, because his name's kind of hard to pronounce.
Maruo. Churro, Maruo, they kind of sound similar.
All right, I'll call him Churro, but you can call him Maruo. And
that won't be confusing for anybody.
Exactly. Anyways, Churro, he is the main protagonist of the series, and I like to call him a mundane hero. And what I mean by a mundane hero is that he's someone whose ordinary traits are used to elevate himself to become the main man, basically. So, basically, his main thing is not some supernatural ability. It's not some crazy move. It's more of he's just really diligent and tenacious, and has this sort of perfectionist attitude that makes him good at the sport of tennis. Mm-hmm. And yeah, what do you say?
Yeah,
about
that's because it's an interesting difference than a lot of the other animes we have. A lot of the other animes we've seen, we have these characters who are either already insanely good, who are new to the sport, but all of a sudden tap into this newfound strength that they have, as you mentioned, this sudden power that makes them just a beast on the court, and they learn around it. But Maruo is different in the sense where he has no special skills, and he's coming into tennis completely cold turkey. With him, we're learning all about tennis. We're on the same level as he is throughout all of it, as he learns each new move and all the intricate details that comes with tennis. But yeah, I think that's refreshing in the sense to see a character who just has to start with the bare basics and knows literally nothing about it and slowly build himself up with baby steps. I think we'll say the words baby steps a lot.
Baby steps. Oh, by the way, baby steps, my girlfriend hates that name because she says it's it just sounds like an insult. You're calling someone baby steps. What's up?
What?
What's up, baby steps?
Why would you call someone baby steps?
Get over here, baby steps.
Baby steps is
it's like someone who walks slowly.
It shows that you're making the progression slowly and surely to become ultimate. You're not going to become good overnight. You got to take your baby steps.
See, that's what I thought too. But baby steps just sounds funny.
Hey, baby steps.
Get over here, baby steps. Get your butt over here. Anyways, yeah. So the thing about Maruo too is that when he's introduced, he's not. We actually get a chance to know him outside of the sport. I think a lot of sports animes, when they introduce the main protagonist, they automatically connect to them to the sport. It's like, hey, here's this character. Oh, and they're playing volleyball, like in Haikyuu. Or here's this character, and like a scene later, oh, check them out, shooting some hoops and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in this one, it's like, because this guy hasn't even come to contact with the sport of tennis by the time this anime starts, we actually get to see who he is as a person as opposed to who he is as a tennis player. And I think that's what this anime does a really good job of, is highlights that character trait and then makes his personality and his attitudes consistent from the beginning, when he's outside of tennis and when he's actually a tennis player. So when he's introduced, he's a student. He's a regular student, and he's top of his class. But really, his strength is that he takes really good notes. Like, that's kind of his shtick. It's like, he's just a really precise and diligent note taker.
Mm-hmm.
And that translates even to the sport of tennis, because when he gets into tennis, then he starts taking notes about tennis, and that really helps him improve as a player, which we'll discuss more later on as to why.
And that's great in the sense to too often, as you kind of mentioned, sports animes, their sport and their main character are kind of like intertwined, where we don't really know them outside of it. But knowing Maruo to be this diligent, hard worker, note taker is great, because we see him in an element that he thrives at, but he's not necessarily happy in. But it's one that he could easily stay in. He could stay in the track of being a top student because of his constant note taking. Because he's not exactly like super intelligent. He's just really good at note taking. He's a hard worker. He has that determination and tenacity to do repetition, to learn all these new things. But then to see that those skills transfer over to a sport is fascinating to watch, because we see him become invested in it and able to use his skills to become really good at tennis and find the passion for it that he didn't quite necessarily have for, just for studying. Because while he was studying, he didn't know what he wanted to do. He was kind of aimless in the sense of what he's going to do with his life. He was on a track that other people kind of set out for himself, but using tennis it's like his first time that he finds something that he's really passionate about, that he wants to do on his own and to get better at. And that's why I think Mario is a really fascinating main character.
Exactly, I agree. And like, specifically, the way his note-taking helps him in tennis is that he's able to collect data on himself and also his opponents. So he's quick to observe people, and his notes are just so damn good that he knows like the trajectory of each ball that was hit across the court from his opponent, and he knows like the percentage of like what's the probability that he's gonna swing the ball this way or shoot it that way. And this is awesome to me, because it's like the way he uses this data to form a plan, basically. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how because consistently throughout this anime, he's the underdog, because obviously he's the new guy, and he's going up against people that have been playing for years, basically. And the only thing that he has against them is his ability to analyze the data that he has on his opponents and about himself, and use that to form a strategy, which I really, really like, because a lot of times in sports animes, and I guess in animes in general, is that like, usually it's just like, oh, I'm just gonna throw the ball faster, or I'm just gonna hit it even harder, or it's just like, it's like variations of kind of like the same move. Whereas with Maruo, I really enjoyed watching him like struggling through figuring out, trying to formulate a plan of attack to actually stay on equal footing as to these with these people that have been playing for years before him. Which I think is awesome.
Yeah, it's not even like an end-all move. Like, his ability to have, his special eyes where he can analyze things isn't all of a sudden treated as like, he can automatically start winning games now. It's like, no, that's not the case. But what his eyes do is allows him to be in a position to learn better and to help grow his other skills to become an actual formidable tennis player. It's not like, he has the eyes, he's automatically great at tennis. No, he has these eyes, but these will help him become a better tennis player because of it.
Yeah, we should mention that the eyes is kind of like his one sort of above average physical ability, is that like he has good eyesight, so that lets him sort of better able track like where the ball is going, and also see like the subtle movements of the wrist of his opponent. So yeah, just having like really good vision is sort of an outstanding ability, but it's not automatically like a game changer. He still has to use it to he just uses it to augment what he already does, which is form strategies, analyze data and stuff.
Yeah, and it helps. It doesn't all and what's great is like his strategy and his his game doesn't exactly work. It's not like an easy solution, as you were saying. It's not like a motivation inch, just like to throw the ball harder. He has these skills, but he does have to analyze and work his way up to victory about like what he could possibly do in order to turn the tides of the game. He has to try a bunch of different moves within games, like as he finds things that work, things that don't work. He really has to analyze the data. This is a very detail oriented anime throughout, and that's good because a protagonist is very detail oriented. Like this is an anime. We're talking a lot about Mario because this anime lives and dies by his perspective. Like a lot of sports animes kind of have that we've reviewed kind of like a team ensemble, that there's a lot of characters to talk about. This is an anime that's solely focused on Mario's perspective. Everything that we know about characters, we only know because Mario also knows. Like we don't find a lot of insight that he doesn't also kind of is around, because this show is just singularly narrow focused on through his eyes, which is risky for an anime, because if your main character isn't interesting and you structure your whole anime around this one character, then that anime is going to fall flat on its face. But thankfully Mario is, I think, very fascinating to watch. Like I'm more so than him actually winning at tennis. I'm interested in his progression just as a character. Like I don't need to see him win all these matches, but I want to see him grow, which will keep me coming back for more for this anime.
Exactly. Yeah. The animes we've reviewed in the past usually have multiple point of views, but this one is just Mario's point of view. It's almost exclusively. Like we'll
which
sometimes get.
It's like to its benefit, but also to its detriment. Like, because I think the other main characters that we'll go into, like, they're hard to even call main characters because they don't really have much of a story.
Yeah, which is kind of a shame. I wish they did, because these other characters, I think, are interesting in their own way, and it would have been cool to see some point of views from them.
Yeah. And they all have. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's fine. You
said they all have moments that show how they're all really interesting. I think each of the next three characters that we're going to discuss, who kind of make up this main ensemble, have these great individual moments throughout the season. It's just like, man, these characters are actually kind of cool. Like, I want to know more about them and how they tick and how they feel in this situation. But the show kind of holds back on giving us any insight, which is a risky gamble, but it pays off because Mario is at least so interesting.
Yeah. So the interactions between Mario and the other characters are also very good, because the other characters are good, and just when you have a good cast of characters, I feel like it's just naturally fun and entertaining to watch them interact with each other.
Yeah.
So in particular, the interaction that I rooted for throughout the whole show is the whole romance subplot with him and the next character, Natsu Takasaki.
Female lead.
Yeah, she's a female lead. She's introduced as the cutest girl in the class, but fortunately, that's not all she has going for her. She's also very ambitious. Her goal is actually to become a professional tennis player, which is something that she confides into Maruo pretty early in the series, but tells him to keep it a secret. Which she doesn't. I don't think the reason for that is revealed as to why, but I think we can kind of guess. Like, we can kind of infer that, like, maybe she doesn't want to tell people because she's afraid that if she doesn't make it, she's gonna like disappoint people or be seen as a failure or something like that. Like, that's my guess, and that's very relatable. That's like a very humanizing, I think, moment for her, is that sort of like, yeah, I'm gonna go pro, but like, don't tell anyone. Generally, she's very cheerful and supportive, but unlike other anime girls who are usually very cheerful and supportive, she's not just completely saccharine. She's also very straightforward. In a way that's like she might say some rude things and not even realize it, but it's not in like kind of a mean way. It's just sort of like, that's just
this is how it is. Yeah, and this is how things are type thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and she also wants other people to be straightforward with her. There's a couple moments where Maruo will sort of like, Natsu is frustrated with Maruo for being inconsistent, like in the way that he calls her, or and there's another scene where like he's kind of dodgy, like he's sort of avoiding a question or a statement, like something he could say, but and she's kind of frustrated at that. So yeah, she's just a very consistent character.
And I think she's really fascinating, which is why I wanted to learn more about her, because she's the catalyst basically to get Mario into tennis, and like the backbone of this whole series, this whole first season is him becoming really good at tennis, but it's also his kind of blossoming romance with her. The great thing about Natsu is that a lot of other animes play these type of characters as like dumb and naive in the sense about like their main character's feelings. About like, oh, he's in love with me. It's like, what? That's crazy. Or you get the sense that a lot of these other anime characters don't understand it at all. But the thing that I think is so great about Natsu is that she seems to clearly know how Mario is feeling a lot of the time, but she won't push it because her whole character arc is pushing Mario to say what he wants. Like that's the whole general arc and like the backbone of this overall show itself. So it's like whenever, as you mentioned, like he's dodgy or he's like inconsistent or like he's mumbling and stuff, she'll be patient. She won't say, "Tell me what you want." She'll just, she'll be silent and just wait until Mario can come to the realization himself, because she realizes if she pushes him to do that, then it's not really even his decision. It's not his choice. He needs to find out the strength within himself to say what he wants. And even though Natsu doesn't get a lot of character development throughout, that presence is felt like throughout, which makes her really strong. Like, I like her as an anime girl.
Me too. I just think I really appreciate how, I guess, sort of like realistically they portrayed the romance subplot. It's not like some goofy like, oh, notice me, senpai, that kind of thing. It's like real. Like, it just feels real because the amount of feelings they have for each other as the anime progresses increases. And you can kind of just see more and more how like they're getting closer, and they just have like a lot of cute, awkward moments, which I don't know. I just find adorable. And I think the best part about it is like they don't really indulge in like will they, won't they moments. Like they do have kind of like moments where it's like, oh man, Mario, just tell her how you feel. But at the same time, it makes sense when he doesn't do it because he's not there yet. Yeah. And outside of that too, we not only get to see them in these moments, but we also get to see them as just good friends. Otherwise, like they're not just romantic partners. Like when they're not having sort of awkward romantic overtones, they're just they're good friends. They can have a chat. They can support each other, and
they share a passion.
Exactly, they share a passion.
That's what another character kind of notices. Another character who's kind of vying for Mario's affection. She sees the fact that, man, it sucks because even when they're not romantic, they have this love of tennis that they're developing together. So of course they're going to be friends because they have at least a common interest and a common goal. That helps them become close.
Yeah, it's just a really pleasant romance subplot to watch develop. Yeah. And romance is not usually something that is tackled in sports animes, so I really appreciate. And I think overall too, this anime is more sort of like slice of life-y in that sense, because like tennis is the main thing, but we have plenty of time to appreciate Mario as a character outside of tennis. Like we see him in school, we see him in school activities, and we get to see him interact with these other characters outside of the court,
especially his parents, because
we actually see his parents.
Yeah, and we see him talk about playing tennis and the role that takes on like his schoolwork and like his relationship with them. So that's awesome. We'll talk about that, I guess, a little later as we discuss characters.
Yeah.
Now.
Anyways, Maruo and Natsu, or Maruo is not the only one that likes Natsu. The other one that really likes Natsu is Takuma Egawa. And Takuma is sort of like the fall from grace kind of character. He's described as someone who had like really great potential in middle school, but since then has sort of fallen off the track and is just now, as we're being introduced to him, is just now sort of trying to get back on top of his game. Yeah. Despite that, though, Takuma is still like a crazy good player. He's like he's like one of the top players in his age group, basically. And I think it's heavily foreshadowed that one day him and Maruo are going to be on the court together, like a real match. In this season, I don't think we really get to see them in a real match. There is a scene where they like Takuma keeps serving to Maruo, and if Maruo returns just one serve, then Maruo gets what he wants. But that's pretty much the only sort of. Well, there's another one too, I guess. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is,
go ahead.
Their rivalry is just blossoming essentially, and Maruo is not at the same level as Takuma, but I feel like eventually they're gonna face off in some epic match.
And it's true, and the whole thing about Takuma's character, which makes him really fascinating, because even though he's terrifying, he's huge, he's labeled a delinquent at school and stuff. One of the main motivations, kind of motivating Takuma, is fear. Like back into like fear that someone's gonna beat him, that even that Maruo is gonna beat him. Like as you were saying, that it's not much of a spoiler to describe the scene of him hitting 40 of his tremendous serves to Mario, because it happens like in the third or fourth episode or so. And then if Mario, hits the ball back, if he returns just one, then Takuma has to open up a little bit. And just near the very last one, the very last ball, Takuma changes his serve completely, because you can tell he's afraid that Mario is going to hit it back. That's same what happens later on in the series. There's a great scene which we'll kind of discuss about in the spoiler section, where Mario kind of, I think Takuma's more afraid that Mario could beat him if he really tried, and he doesn't want to lose to him, so he acts standoffish and means like, nah, I don't really want to, play you basically. But I think it's all motivated by the fact that he's afraid of losing to Mario. Maruo. Sorry, I keep calling him Mario. That's
We should just call him Mario. There we go.
Mario.
Churro Mario.
But again, we find out more about his backstory, like a little bit, like it's touched upon, but we never get a Takuma-centric episode, which is sad to me, because I think Takuma is a character that would have done great. Like, there's a lot of sports animes, even the sports animes you have, when you're facing an opponent, all of a sudden that opponent starts getting flashbacks to about like why they are the way they are. And that happens for a good amount of the opponents here, but it never happens to Takuma. Like, we never really get a peek inside Takuma's head. And it makes him this interesting presence and an interesting foil to Maruo. But I wanted more from that. But at least, if that's the purpose of the show, to keep me interested enough to be like, oh, I can't wait for a Takuma-centric episode. This is going to be awesome, and it'll keep me watching. Then I can't fault the show for that, because I am interested in it, and I will keep watching because I want to see Takuma explored more.
Yeah, and this show is definitely playing, I think, the long game. Not even in like a frustrating way, but I mean, the manga's been going for a long time, so the anime has like a lot of material to chug through, and it's taking its time. And it's doing it in a pretty effective way. Like, I'm not frustrated that they're like sort of hanging these little plot hooks in front of me that's never going to be explored, because we are focused on the POV from Maruo, and since Maruo is such a fascinating character and his progression is entertaining, I can forgive it for that. But I agree that I wish that we got some more screen time with Takuma. We do get like a brief flashback with him, but not that much. But even in that moment, I think we do learn a very interesting point about Takuma's character, is that his philosophy is that like sometimes like hard work isn't gonna get you what you want, which is like a foil to Maruo, because Maruo's brand new to the game and he's just gonna work hard and see where
all
that
he
takes
has
him.
is hard work. Yeah,
exactly. Well, Takuma on the other hand, he's saying like, well, there's gonna be those that are naturally more athletic than you, and there's gonna be those that have had more time and resources to practice more than you. And so he's sort of like the antithesis to Maruo, and that's sort of, we kind of can infer that like he might have fallen away from tennis because he got cynical, because there is like a flashback scene where like he lost the game back then, and that kind of like crushed him and stuff. But
yeah,
we really didn't really get to see much beyond that. But yeah, he basically has a very kind of deterministic outlook, which runs contrast to Maruo's outlook. And
great trio of three main characters. All three are interesting and different in their own right, to kind of inspire and be foils to one another.
Yeah. And the fourth character we'll talk about briefly, his name is Kojiro Kageyama, related to Tobio Kageyama of Haikyuu fame. He is Maruo's best friend, and he's definitely a side character, but I think he is important to discuss because he provides an outsider's perspective in Maruo's life, because it's too often, like in pretty much every sports anime we've seen, I think that the friends of the main character are all also involved in the sport. So what I think is interesting about Baby Steps is Kageyama is not involved in tennis at all. He's in fact kind of opposite to Maruo as well, in the fact that he's kind of he's sort of an average Joe. He's kind of lazy. He actually mooches off of Maruo's schoolwork all the time. But despite that, he's still very supportive, and he's his wingman. He's constantly trying to hook up Maruo, which I think some of the funniest scenes is him just trying to hook him up basically with either Natsu or this other nerdy chick, which we won't talk about. But let's just say that Maruo has two girls that are kind of have affection for him, and Kageyama is trying to like, he's sort of playing both sides. I think he's trying to like either hook up one with the other, which is I think is hilarious. He's just trying to get his friend laid, dude.
He is.
He's a good friend.
He is. That is. I guess we can talk about this more in the spoiler section as we kind of learn more about him. But it's like I disagree for the sense of that he's just trying to get his friend laid. Yes, he's a funny character, but there's actually a great underlying reason for his motivations throughout the series, which we'll talk about a little later, I think.
Oh, okay.
He's hit and miss for me in the sense because he's clearly there just to be like on the nice way to put it is the outside perspective, but like I guess the cynical way of putting his character is audience exposition, because he's the one
right.
who's there at every single game, mostly along with another. He's the one who people can explain tennis to because he doesn't understand anything, and therefore they explain it to us. That's a great method, and that's a really good method, and because it happened with Haiku, and it happened with an anime that we're kind of currently watching, a basketball anime, Kuroku's basketball, that it has these characters who know everything there is to know about the sport, just talking to one another about exactly what's happening, like explaining it to people who clearly should already know what's happening. But this one, it makes sense for why they're explaining all these new things to Kageyama. And what's great is that the audience doesn't get boring in a sense, because as soon as Kageyama starts kind of understanding the sport a little more, then all of a sudden they bring in another girl. They bring in Sasaki, which is the side character, kind of a nerdy chick. And she starts, and then they start explaining it to her now too, who like doesn't understand. I mean, at first I was like, "Oh my god!" They keep bringing in new characters to explain stuff to, but it works in a sense.
Yeah, but I mean, he's definitely like, that is a good way to explain rules. But I do think Kageyama is more than just an outsider's perspective. I think he's there to ground Maruo, remind him and the audience that there's a life outside of just tennis, because Maruo does get really involved in tennis, but whenever Kageyama's in, it's just sort of like a reminder of like, oh, he's still just a high school kid. He still has friends and other relationships to sort of balance and stuff like that. So I think he's effective in both sense, both as an exposition dump character, but also as a way to sort of balance the show. Because like I said, a lot of times it's like we're mostly centered on just the sport in these sports animes, which is expected. But I do like how this anime is able to explore other facets of the character's life and how the sport is affecting the other facets of his life, as opposed to just like, it's sort of like, because a lot of sports animes, it's like a vacuum. It's like the sport is like all there is. But
I totally I agree with you there. I know that I do like Kageyama too, just for like the role he serves, because you're right, that is a very different perspective to have a friend outside. So yeah, I do like Kageyama. There's some things I didn't like about him, but I actually do think he's a really deep character, and we'll talk about a little more later.
All right, sounds good then. So let us move on to actually talking about the sport itself and how it's portrayed.
Did you know tennis was this grueling?
I actually did not know. I thought tennis was sort of pleasant.
Me too.
I mean, I guess it can be, but I guess it is just really intense. I think that because tennis is such like a relatively well-known sport, not much of it had to explain, except the scoring system had to be explained like 10 times. Like that was the one thing that really hit
literally
home.
2 episodes like in a row. Like when like Kageyama comes in, it's just like, how does this work? And there's like, oh, it's 0, then 15, 30, 40, because 45 is too difficult to say, and then love, which is the win. And then it's like, oh, it's like Kageyama's like, I get it. And then the next episode, Sasaki comes up. It's like, why is it scoring like this? And then, like they explain it to her.
Exactly. Again. It's in those episodes too, they explain it multiple times. So it's like they do it multiple times in those 2 episodes.
I think that has to be because the numbers aren't they're American. So it's like for an anime, it's like we get it pretty easily, but it's like you really have to hammer it home for for its native Japanese language.
I mean, even I think even for an American audience, I don't think it makes sense. That doesn't make sense. 15,
No, it
30,
doesn't.
40, and then game, like what the fuck? So I think it's understandable that that's kind of like the main point that they hit, because
Yeah.
I would, it would just so that everyone's on the same page. This is how the rules go. Did you forget
Yeah.
how the rules went? Okay, this is how it goes.
This is
These
how
are the
it goes.
scorings. Yeah. Other than that, though, oh, go ahead, Kobe.
Yeah, I didn't know tennis was at least that it goes on for so long, because like you have
Yeah.
a set and you usually play 3 sets, but like each set is 6 games, and then you switch sides. That's a lot of tennis.
Yeah, and I think the best way that they describe how grueling tennis can be is I think the coach or some character describes what it is. He says like tennis, you have to have the endurance to last longer than a typical marathon,
Yeah,
the speed to run the distance shorter than a 100-meter race, and the ability to track the ball faster than a Major League Baseball player's pitch, and the mental fortitude to play that long all by yourself. And it's like, wow, shit, that is a really good way to describe tennis. Like, I didn't know it was that crazy.
I do. If that's all accurate, like if that's actually true, which like if you ever like kind of generally watch a tennis match, it does kind of seem like that's the case. But it's like I do have a newfound respect for tennis because of this anime.
Indeed. And like I said, it doesn't really explain much of the like the different strokes and stuff. Like I don't I wish they would have explained. Well, like I wish they would have explained like what a slice was. I don't know. Like just like minor things like that. But they do explain like what a ground stroke is and like what a volley is
and a volley, yeah.
Yeah, but like I guess like the different I don't know. Maybe, I guess they did a good enough job. Is what I'm saying.
And I thought, what I thought they did a good job is like there's a lot of reactions to everything. Like there's a lot of different strategies that goes into not just just hit the ball back like any way you can. Just hit the ball back over the net and keep going. It's like no, there's actually a ton of strategy. Like if I hit it this way, then he'll hit it there, then he'll return, then I'll move up here, and then he'll hit it there, so then I can end it. Like a lot. What I really liked about this is like a lot of these, a lot of the moves that Maruo kind of thought of, they weren't just like all of a sudden, bam, I hit it back instantly and I win. Like I just hit it here. It's like, no, his moves had to be set up like multiple moves in advance.
Yeah,
like, it's
exactly.
just like they hit it towards me, so I'm going to hit it here, which is going to force him to do this and hit it this way, and then I'm going to spike it down and hit the point. Like that's great.
That's like a chess master essentially, and like that's it's very complementary to Maruo's analytical mind. Despite him being new to the sport, it makes sense that he picks it up pretty quickly. Like he's even though he's brand new, he does get good fairly quickly. But I think it makes sense because it's just the way that he thinks. And like you said, he thinks multiple moves ahead. But besides the sort of different techniques and strategies in tennis too, I was really fascinated by the sort of physical conditioning aspect of it as well, because you get to see what Maruo's training regimen is like, and it's like grueling.
Yeah.
And he has to do it for like a whole month, and then he has to rest. But like I just like the way they explain it to where like, so like basically we're gonna break your body down, right? And then you're gonna rest for a bit, and it's gonna be like crazy good. And we're gonna time your rest period so that on your match day your body is at peak performance, peak recovery. And then after that we're gonna train it and then rest it and train it and rest it. And we're gonna do that over and over again until your body can recover in the span of 2 days. And I just love that sort of physiological aspect to training.
It seems like
which is
whoever wrote this like has really got in depth with like for training wise, because like
they know tennis. Yeah,
even in that case, like when we're learning about like the breakup, like the breakdown of the body and the rest period and stuff, like as soon as we get a handle on that, all of a sudden they say we're throwing that all out the window and we're doing something even harder than that, which is just oh my god, that hurt my body.
Yeah, like sports animes, I think they usually just focus on the sport itself, as opposed, and they don't really get enough time to focus on like the outside things you have to do to get better at the sport. Like, for example, in tennis, I guess your leg strength is really important because they really hammer home that when Maruo was weaker, he wasn't as able to control the ball as well. But when he like was able to strengthen his legs, it was able to get him to get to the ball faster, plant himself, and then because of all that, he was able to control the ball better, which I thought is fascinating. And I wish more sports anime would kind of hit those outside things as well.
Absolutely. This kind of ruined like a lot of like other animes where like I'm gonna watch these sports animes and when all of a sudden a character just suddenly gets good out of like motivation, like all of a sudden
Yeah.
he's just better because he thinks he's better. It's just like,
Mhm.
man, remember in Baby Steps how he actually had to train to get better?
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly. And the other thing too, the other thing that I thought was really cool was they also delved into sort of the psychological aspects of the game.
Mhm.
Like Maruo was taught that like if you visualize yourself playing well, that has an immediate effect on how well you actually play because your mind remembers how well you were playing and so it affects your body. And he is also taught like how to use his instinct more so that when his instinct wants to train, when his instinct and his consciousness are aligned, it makes training faster, more fun, more effective. And yeah, I just love the whole training aspect of it. Like it wasn't just like a training camp episode where like, haha, we're gonna have barbecue at the end of this crazy match.
yeah, and then I come out of it better because I learned a special skill.
Exactly. It was more like here's grueling practice that he did for months, and here's specific techniques that he learned that are grounded in actual like sports science.
Mhm.
I mean, I assume them to be grounded in sports science. I mean, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, I want to say it's like someone come out and it's like, no, literally everything they said was wrong.
It was all fake.
It's all fake.
Yeah.
They're talking out of their ass. Yeah.
They're all making that shit up.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, sounds smart.
Yeah. But yeah.
What do you mean breaking down bodies for 2 periods of rest time? That makes no sense.
But yeah, overall, the show does a really good job of showing as many aspects of the sport as possible. And I think it's great that they did that because generally I like more team-based sports animes because then you have different characters playing off each other.
Mhm.
But because this is an individual sport, I think I was kind of at a disadvantage to whether or not I would like it. But because they were able to attack so many different parts of the sport and make that interesting, and because all the characters were so cool and interesting, I just think it created a very solid sports anime in general.
Yeah, agreed completely. So so that's the sport itself. Next up, what animation? You want to talk about the animation style? Or
we could talk about the tennis matches, like
tennis
how they
matches.
were constructed and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So we already said before that Maruo was consistently the underdog, and he has to like analyze his data and stuff like that. So we don't really have to go too much into that. I guess my only critique of the matches themselves is that the show isn't very good at drama. And by that I mean like I feel like I never had a moment where I was just like on the edge of my seat, like waiting to see, oh, is he gonna win? Is he gonna lose? I just think it's because the stakes are kind of low-ish right now.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really do a good job of like hyping things up, I suppose. A lot of other sports animes, they have very exaggerated flourishes of movements and like very visual, like like in Haikyuu it's just like a spike is just a very visual like boom.
Mhm.
That's a very decisive score, it's a very decisive play, whereas in tennis it's kind of difficult to do that because like you said the moves have to be set up multiple stages in advance.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of hurts it in the sense of like I never felt like I never felt a moment where he won a score, he won a point, and I was just like, yeah, you know.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. There was some instances, like I think there was one match where I kind of felt it. It's like his first match with Miyawa, who was the lanky dude.
Mhm.
I thought that match was like the best example of it, but like the other matches, they're hard because they're so long. Like it's hard, you have to like skip a bunch of stuff, or like all of a sudden like you just kind of flash forward to like the end of the game. Even when he first wins a game, it's like I was really expecting it to be like this really big moment. Like it's like I won a game. It's like, nope, I win. Oh, it's over. That's it. All right.
Yeah.
On to my next game. So it's like they don't really let those dramatic moments like land as much as I would like. So I agree with you there.
Yeah, and like I said before, I think it just stems from the fact that this anime is playing the long game. Like, I guess Maruo just isn't at that point yet where he's gonna have that crazy moment because he's been winning and losing games that are sort of within reason.
Yeah.
He hasn't had like a crazy opponent that he's somehow outsmarted. And so I guess from that perspective, it's sort of realistic. Like it's...
Yeah, he loses when he should lose.
Exactly. He loses when he should lose. And he wins like narrowly. Well, but it's still
Yeah.
like, okay, that's reasonable. Like, yeah, okay, I guess he won that. Uh, but
Yeah, it's
Over-
and it's tough because it's like there's stakes that's introduced near the back half of the season, that kind of promise for like later where like the stakes are gonna get really high when he wins or loses games. But for this instance, when he loses, like, you know, I'm still fine. Like I
Yeah.
can still continue this game. All I have to do is like pick myself back up and learn from it, basically.
yeah. But overall, like even despite that though, the matches are entertaining to watch. Just not didn't really give me much feels. You know what I'm saying?
No, I get it.
And then in terms of the opponents I think are really good. The antagonists in this show are pretty good in that we do get brief backstories on each of them, some flashbacks, and we get some motivations, and they're all quite varied.
Yeah,
in terms of
that's the best way to describe the antagonist in the show. Is like each opponent that he faces has its own special trait that he kind of has to analyze their strengths and their weaknesses to try to beat them, and they're all interesting in its own right. I know going into it's the same way I thought about Haiku. It's like, how do you make each opponent interesting? Like, what trait can you give them in order to keep them? Because like, it doesn't seem like there would be a whole lot that you could do, but actually, I think all of them were pretty. Each had their own like quirk and trait that made them interesting opponents for Maruro. Who's your favorite out of the antagonists?
I think my favorite one would be the artist dude. Should we talk about this in spoilers or? Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we can save it there.
All right. Yeah. Basically, the antagonists are pretty good. The only thing I would say is there's not really an impending threat. Not really like an eventual enemy. Like we could say Takuma might be, but the thing I forgot to mention about Takuma too is like his presence is really only felt in like maybe the first quarter to first half of the anime, and then after that he sort of fades away. We don't really see much of him anymore after a certain point in the show. So him being in a sort of an eventual enemy, sort of rival character, fades away at some point. And I do like shows where there's like, ooh, he's like the big boss guy that we're gonna work up to eventually, because it sets up like a promise, you know. But this show doesn't really have that. Although I wouldn't say it hurts it too much because of just the way it's paced. And I keep saying long game, but I'm going to keep saying it even more. The way that the anime is paced, it just works. Like I can expect there to be some good things in the future, and even though a lot of these things aren't delivered in the first season, I'm kind of okay with that because it's a sort of slice of life-ish pace that we're walking through with Maruo. So
in terms of antagonists, it's like there is one that's introduced in the back half of the season that seems like it's setting up as like an ultimate goal.
Oh yeah, Soji
Iki.
Yeah, that's right.
He's kind of introduced as like, oh, he's the baddest threat to, but he's not like a bad guy. He's actually kind of a nice guy.
Yeah, but even him though, I don't feel like his presence is felt. Like he's introduced for a couple episodes, and then after that, his presence also kind of drops off. Like we don't really see much of him.
Yeah, because again, this is all Maruo's story.
Yeah,
taking his baby steps.
So yeah, do you want to talk about the animation now?
Yeah, I think we can talk about animation now. It's like generally, I don't think there's anything too special about it. Each of its antagonists kind of had used their own quirk, and those were kind of used in its animation style. The only problem that I had with the animation style was how they animated characters like Kageyama's and Yuichiro's, I think his name was, like their noses. Like when they were forward and stuff, they just looked really weird. Yeah. I was like, man, these are some ugly looking characters. But then when you get like a profile, they're perfectly normal. Like it's just like, oh, they're actually kind of like handsome in their own sense. Like they're like normal people, but like the noses were very distracting for me at first, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree.
If I'm nitpicking.
They do look pretty ugly and kind of silly looking. Which it is weird. It is different. Like I think I kind of appreciate it though, because they didn't try to draw all these characters as being like overly attractive.
Yeah.
Or anything like that.
They're all pretty average looking, which is a good thing.
Exactly. I got the sense that they're sort of just like real people. Like they're like I guess the closest thing I could describe it, or I could compare it to, would be Ping Pong the animation. Like Ping Pong the animation had like a really drastic art style, which took some getting used to. But they're comparable in the fact that like the characters are they just look like people. Like, even though the weird people with like the weird noses, I think that's just sort of to convey that, it's just an average looking dude with a funny looking nose.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I just think the overall Baby Steps is very quote unquote realistic in that sense. In my opinion, the animation is fairly average. There's a few rare glimpses of like really cool stuff that they could have done, and there's occasional glimpses of just plain laziness. So like, for example, the cool stuff that I thought they should have done more, which they probably didn't have the budget for, was really only seen in like one match between Takuma and one of his rivals, and also the opening song. Whoa. It's sort of like that. It's sort of just like this wide shot, one take volley. Essentially, we didn't really get a lot of that, but when we did get that, I was like, oh, this looks awesome. But usually it was just sort of like cuts between, okay, I'm gonna hit the ball, it cuts to the ball landing, and then it cuts to the person returning it, and then it cuts to the ball landing again.
Yeah.
In terms of like the outright laziness, there are some scenes, very minor scenes that I caught where like the faces, like it didn't even seem like they were trying. Like beyond the fact that the faces looked weird sometimes, like with the noses, there were just some instances where it seemed like the eyes weren't even like lined up correctly. And yeah, I just felt like the draftsmanship there wasn't very good. It must be like some kind of budgetary thing, because otherwise it just looks fairly average. But yeah, there's some parts like that. I guess the other thing I should applaud too is like with Natsu's character, like she's described as being like this super attractive girl, but like they restrained from using fan service on her, which I appreciate a lot, because usually when you when a character is introduced as being like super attractive, they just fan service the shit out of her, and it's sort of like kind of like an on the nose, like, hey, this chick is super hot, isn't she? Like check out those titties and shit. But like the way that Natsu is portrayed as being attractive is like, she has like a cute face, a very classy choice of clothing, and we also get sort of like the POV of Maruo, like the very rose tinted POV of like whenever Maruo looks at her, you can kind of see like
cute, yeah,
she's literally sparkling and stuff. Yeah, she is cute, but it's not like some zoom in on like the titties and shit. It's not like it's classy is what I'm trying to say, and I think more animes should. Well, and I've got nothing against fan service. Like I actually like it as long as it's sort of done in a classy way, or if it's done for completely self-aware comedic reasons.
Yeah.
But I think that there's more ways to portray a character as being hot other than just focusing purely on the curves and shit. You know what I'm saying?
It's true, because I found like near the end, I found myself pretty attracted to Natsu in the sense of just like I actually see it, like she is actually a really attractive character. Like it's like, oh, without them overdoing any fan service or making some exaggerated movements about her, it's like she's just kind of cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and her being a cool character definitely helps with that as well.
Yeah.
And then in terms of the soundtrack, I think it was okay. Like there weren't any tracks that I thought were particularly bad or repetitive, but none of it really made me feel like super positive either. I do like the opening theme. I listen to it every time.
I think I skipped it. No, I did. I listened to it every time too. It's like, because it grew on me.
Yeah.
And I sang along to it. Whoa.
Me too.
And I was,
believe in yourself.
Yeah.
And then it has like that cheesy, like big ass text that says that. It's
believe in yourself. I'm surprised they didn't change it. Usually in 20 episode animes, we'll get like a different anime, like a different opening halfway through.
Yeah, and I think it's just a budget thing. I think maybe this anime didn't get enough money to have another opening theme, basically.
Yeah.
Because they easily could have, because there were very distinguishable arcs, I would say.
Yeah, well, is the opening like foreshadowing to like his final match, like in the pros? Because he's clearly playing a very professional match, and I kept waiting for something on like that.
Yeah, he's on like some crazy stage with all his friends and his mom's in the audience and stuff too.
Yeah.
Maybe it is, or maybe it has nothing to do with the show. But also, what's funny too is I accidentally watched like the opening from the second season.
Oh yeah.
And it's the same exact song.
No way, really?
Yeah, the season 2 is the same song with different animation though, different opening animation, but it's still the same song.
Oh, interesting.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah. I've never seen that ever in an anime before.
Me neither. They must really like that song, or they can't buy another one.
I dig it. I dig that song.
It's not bad. Yeah. Yeah. So then there's the themes. I guess the main theme is like, I feel like I don't even know if whenever we talk about the theme section, I'm not even sure if it's worth it to talk about it because a lot of the sports animes share similar themes of like hard work, tenacity, diligence, and really that's kind of the thing with Maruo is like, you know,
Yeah,
follow your
so
passion, do it if it's
maybe
fun,
maybe
work
we should
hard.
only comment on the theme if it does something truly different. Like if there's something really weird that we find, like a message it's trying to say that's just like,
Yeah.
that's different than anything we've heard. This one isn't that. This one does kind of highlight more the fact that it's not just about passion, it's about hard work. Like it takes a lot of time to truly master something. But if you take, if you take your baby steps, then and believe in yourself, then you're going to be able to do this.
There we go.
But it means sacrifice in the sense it's like he has to kind of sacrifice a lot of his schoolwork eventually to get good at tennis, and like the future that he kind of planned for himself gets more edged and edged out for tennis. But it's like in order to be really good at it, you need to devote the time to it.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that too. I really appreciated that they actually hit that point. I like the fact that we actually get to meet his parents, and I like the fact that Maru had to confront his parents at one point to sort of tell them, "Hey, I want to do tennis and not do as much school," which is very difficult. Like, that's just a difficult sell anywhere, I'd say. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, even in America, but like especially in Japan, where it's like it's very competitive, and your parents want you to really, really do well in school. But
and especially when he's like the top student already, like he would have his choice
Yeah,
at any
exactly.
successful career that he
If
could
he kept
probably
going
want
like
to.
that.
But all of a sudden, he's like, I want to be a pro tennis player.
yeah, yeah. I want to
You
be a
started
pro,
this
and
like 3 months ago.
exactly. Yeah. That was really cool. I wish we saw more sports animes that sort of tackled how the sport affected the other parts of their life, and I think this show does a really good job with that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into the spoiler section, shall we?
Ooh, spoilers.
So spoiler section starts now. We'll put a timestamp to when the spoilers end. So you asked before what my favorite antagonist was.
Yeah.
Like I think my favorite one would be the artist guy, just because he's such an unconventional tennis player. Like he just doesn't give a fuck after his drawing's done. Like him drawing pictures with the tennis ball, I just thought was a really cool thing, and like just a very novel opponent that wasn't really necessarily trying to win the game. He was just playing the way he wanted to play, sort of thing.
Yeah, and it represented a different thing because like even at the end, it's what showed great with like a bunch of those early matches with the artist guy, the Miyagawa, that's like the lanky dude, and I think Ubiashi, who I don't think he ever played again after he lost to, but like all those guys, even though he won against Miyagi and the artist guy, like he didn't think it was because of his skill. Like he thought he said he won against Miyagi because of luck, because Miyagi missed his shot. Like he made a gamble and he lost. And he says he won against the artist dude because he outlasted him stamina wise. And he's kind of down on himself because of that skill. But it's like, no, what the show really enforces is like you win the way you win. It doesn't matter. You forced Miyagi to try a risky gamble because you were doing so good. So it's not take the victory, even if it was like luck in that way. The artist dude, you outlast him stamina wise, which is a great part of it. That's a way to win. And I like how that kind of theme comes full circle in his final match against Nabai, which is like the final tennis match of the season. Technically, the villain who's like kind of like, not villain, even the opponent that's like him, who like takes a lot of notes. It's like it's basically a better version. Yeah. It's like basically the better version of him. And he doesn't get that. He just finally got the groove of like how he could fight back, but then he gets a bad call. Like the ref made a bad call. And then Nabai, you can tell he was kind of debating it, but like Nabai's all what the ref says stands. A win's a win. Like no matter what. Like you go with it, which is like interesting, and I thought that was a cool theme throughout.
Yeah, and I thought that also displayed sort of Maruo's humility in a way. Like he is able to beat these top opponents, but he knows that he's not as good as them, so he's sort of conflicted as to why he won and whether or not he should actually celebrate that win or not. But yeah. So who was your favorite villain?
I guess either probably Nabai or Miyagawa. just in the sense because like Miyagi was like his first opponent that he really had to analyze, and like he kind of got good. I was like, oh, that's cool, and I liked all of who Miyagi was. And then Nabai represented this really cool alternate version of
who he could be one day.
Yeah, who he could be one day. So yeah, I thought those were really good matches.
Cool. You said you wanted to talk about Kageyama for a bit?
Oh yeah, yes. Okay, so you said Kageyama. He was a fun guy because he just wanted to get his friend laid. It's like, he's a good guy. It's like, no, that is not the reason why. Kageyama was so desperate throughout the series to get Maruo and Natsu hooked up, so Sasuke, who Kageyama is in love with, will stop pining over him so that they could be together. That's his only reason.
Is that really why?
Yeah, that is because there's that episode in the middle, like there's like the cool down episode where it's like the school fair. And Sasuke, and that's when you really get like the love triangle. Like Sasuke watches Maruo. I'm butchering these names. Maruo and Natsu from like afar, and that's when they talk about it. Makes sense why they would be together. They have all these senses, and the Kageyama makes a joke. It's like, why don't you stop looking and like and be here what's like right next to you, like right? Why don't you notice what's right next to you? And it's played as a joke because then she hits him and she gets knocked out. But then throughout the rest of the series, you see Kageyama comforting her like always, and like looking at her longingly, like when she's staring at Maruo and Natsu walking off like from like the school. Kageyama is watching Sasuke with like real sadness.
Okay.
And then at the end, when Kageyama was really pressing for Natsu, for Maruo to go out with Natsu, like to organize that date. He got really serious. He was less like, no, you need to do this. And that's because he's in love with Sasuke and he needs Sasuke to get over him.
See, I don't know about that because there's two parts in the show that shows Kageyama is also trying to get Satsuki with Maruo, because there's two parts. There's one instance where Maruo loses a game. I think he lost it against the I don't know his name. He's like the super fast, super tough dude. Rivals with Takuma, like second seed or whatever. Mm-hmm. I forgot his character's name, but basically he lost. He lost. So he lost, and then her name is Sasuke. Sasuke's like standing with Kageyama, and she's sort of debating whether or not she should go up and comfort her. And Kageyama says, "Hey, yeah, you should go up to him before it's too late." And then it ends up being too late because then Natsu goes in and comforts Achan first. Yeah, she comforts her first. But like, yeah, Kageyama was encouraging her to comfort Maruo. And then the other instance too is like, it was like after the I think it was after the school festival or something like that.
Yeah.
Or no, maybe it wasn't after the school festival. It was like after some tournament or whatever. And or maybe it was after that same episode where basically Sasuke was looking at Maruo kind of longingly, and then Kageyama notices this, and then he's like, "Hey, Maruo, why don't we have dinner together?" And then, I feel like that was a way to sort of get them to hang out more. But then Maruo was like, "Sorry, I got to go practice tennis some more." So yeah, like those two things I remember specifically, I felt like were him trying to basically hook him up with Sasuke.
I think, but those instances came before the school festival when Kageyama specifically said to Sasuke, maybe you shouldn't pine over him. Maybe you should go with someone who's right in front of you.
I don't know. I guess so.
Go back and watch that final episode where Kageyama is really pushing Maruo to hang out.
But then what explains the fact that he was trying to also encourage Sasuke to hang out with Maruo, basically? Because if he really liked her, I don't think he would do that.
Did that come before or after, though? Before or after the festival? If it became before the festival, that's understandable because maybe he understood his feelings more.
I think it was before. I think one was before the one where he lost the game and she was trying to comfort him. I think that was definitely before the school festival. Mm-hmm. But the other moment, I'm not so sure. I think that might have been after it, though.
Then
see, I can't pin down the episode exactly, but. Now we gotta go look at.
Now we gotta go look at that. All our loyal fan, if you want to go,
chime in.
Which
in the comments
one
below.
I think Kageyama is in love with Sasuke, and he's trying to push them off. he's trying to push Mario with Natsu so he can be with Sasuke, so Sasuke will get over him. I'm sticking to it.
Okay. Disagree. Oh, that's fine. Yeah, so what was your favorite moment in the anime?
Favorite moment. There's a lot of good ones. Do you have one off the top of your head?
I just like that whole sequence at the last episode. Or no, not the last one. Or maybe it was the last one. It was basically the one where he goes out with Natsu.
Yeah.
Because that was just a really nice sort of cool down period. Because even Maruo in that scene is just sort of like, man, this is weird. I'm hanging out with this girl outside of tennis. It's like we're going out or something. And it's like we get a chance to see Maruo sort of let his hair down, like kind of hang out outside of tennis. And I just I like moments like that because they make the tennis moments even more fun and engaging to watch, because it's just learning more about the character outside of the sport. I think is really important.
You're talking about the final episodes, right? Like when he actually goes out on a date with her?
Yeah.
And which is great. And I love that because that was so surprising to me. Like the match with Nabai ended on episode 23 or 22, I think, or so. It's just there's still 2 more episodes left. How do we what do you do from that? Are you going to fit another tennis match in here? And then it does something I was really surprised about, where it's the last 2 episodes don't have any tennis in it. It's all about the personal character growth. The last episode's called, I believe, Maruo and Natsu.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just about their relationship, because that's how the show started, was with their relationship, about how he joined tennis to kind of, because he kind of had a crush on Maruo and didn't know how to express his feelings very well. And it ends with their relationship again on the forefront. And that's it's that relationship really, I think in that episode did have my favorite moment. The whole scene in the karaoke bar, one, because I'd love it when characters sing their own theme songs.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He's saying, awesome. It's so great. You're right. Maybe the show is super cheap, because he's saying their opening song, and then she's saying their ending song,
the credit song. Yeah,
yeah. It's great. But the moment when she said you're cheating, it's because this is what I think the show is very subtle. Which is why I believe Kageyama is in love with Sasuke without the show ever confirming it, because it's very subtle. With Natsu, she never confirms that it's just you're cheating, because what Maruo was doing was trying to force Natsu to say how she feels first, so then it kind of it makes
that's
him know.
Right.
But it's no, because she doesn't want him to do that. She needs him to. She wants him to say, "Hey, I like you." You know what? It's without any prompt or anything else from that. So yeah, I think that whole scene in the karaoke bar was great.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Oh, the other scene I like.
No, go ahead.
I was the other scene I like, which it goes back to the subtlety of the show, is when Takuma denies playing Maruo in his final match, when Maruo makes that impassioned plea. It's let your last match in the juniors be played against me. Takuma looks at him, it's nah, and then walks away.
Uh-huh.
And it's because it's kind of played for laughs in the sense, but what I felt Takuma was afraid of losing to him. He didn't want to lose to Maruo at that point. He was afraid he might actually do it, because Maruo was on this up streak while Takuma was on this slump. So he didn't want his last match to lose to Maruo. Because he never denied him before in the past, except for that moment.
That's true. That is really interesting. I didn't even think about that. I just thought it was just silly Takuma being Takuma, but yeah, that's a really good point. You saying that the anime is just very subtle explains a lot of things for sure. Takuma. I guess the other cool scene was when Takuma and Maruo got to play with each other for the first time.
Yeah,
because that's pretty early on in the show, and I just thought it was just a really cool, just a cool way to set up this is obviously a point A in the setup to them eventually facing off in a real tennis match. It's a point of reference. Maruo is just starting to play. He's only been playing for a month, and he's playing against a guy who's got crazy good serves.
The fifth,
but
also the fifth.
Yeah, I also think this anime just has some pretty good comedic moments. I like the moment when in that match Takuma has a super fast serve, and Maruo's okay, I just got to do my basic return, and he's I'm gonna plant my feet, swing back, and then the ball swings right past him, and he's and swing. And then everyone's
so
that was
slow.
Yeah, people are that's way too late. And then the tennis racket drops, and just the sound of a tennis racket dropping on the floor, I don't know why, that's just so comedic.
It
like,
makes
the comedic
such a
timing
clatter.
of that. Yeah, it makes such a clatter, and it was perfect. There's a lot of slapstick comedy in this show too. Like he gets in the beginning, at least, he gets hit in the face a lot, which I enjoyed.
Yeah,
It's just
that was
really
fun.
simple comedy, but yeah, I think we should have mentioned more about how funny the show was, but yeah, no, a very solid show. Anything else we should talk about? In
The spoiler
spoilers?
section is the ending. I thought that is a fantastic cliffhanger.
It is
To me. It's like
yeah.
I really want to watch season 2 just because in the sense of, oh, he's going to America. I want to see how that arc plays out. I am so desperate to find out how this anime portrays Florida tennis.
They portrayed the one, like there was two Americans, wasn't there? There's one dude that was speaking terrible English, but he was obviously supposed to be an American, even though his English was really shitty.
Yeah.
And then the second one was like he was one of the sports. He was the guy that taught him how to visualize, basically.
Yeah.
And he's like this big white blonde dude with like bright blue eyes and just like really like friendly and stuff. Like I guess that's like their portrayal of Americans. Like
I guess
just really.
that's why I'm so excited for the next arc. He probably won't be in America for very long. I'm thinking
probably
probably
not.
just like maybe 5 episodes or so at the most. But it's like
Exactly.
I want to know how they portray it.
Yeah, and also I just like the setup to it too, because it was very appropriate, like in a very appropriate way to set up the next season. Just like he's off on a new adventure, and he's on the plane. He's like, you know what, the only reason I'm here is because I've got so many people supporting me, and yeah, I just think it was a nice send off.
Did you like how how much were you rooting for him to confess his feelings to Natsu in that moment?
I actually was rooting for him a lot. Like I was just like, come on, Maru,
Just say it.
Tell her how you feel.
But then, how did you feel
Yeah.
when he didn't? How did you feel when he didn't?
When he didn't, I was just like, you know what? Okay,
It works to me.
Yeah, it does. It
'cause
does.
it's baby
It's not
steps.
frustrating.
Yeah, because he's
it's
not there
frustrating.
yet. But she knows it. She knows that was a big step for him, and like they get the sense that something is happening between them. But they're at the stage where just like we can't really do anything right now. Like I'm going off. I'm doing this thing. I do like you. You know I like you. We're going for this, but just I will admit my feelings, just not now.
Yeah, and you know what really the reason I appreciate this so much is, and not just the relationship between him and Natsu, but also like how Takuma kind of has feelings for her, which I think that wasn't played as much as it should have. But what I was surprised about was how Satsuki's feelings for Maruo, how she's sort of watching Maruo change and grow closer to this other girl from a distance, and I actually felt for her. I was like, oh man, friend zoned. Oh man.
Well, imagine like her perspective. Like this happened. Like imagine if one of our close friends all of a sudden just got into a new sport or got into not even a sport, like a hobby that completely changed them and consumed them, and all of a sudden they were spending all their time there and they became that person. They were no longer who you thought they were. They developed into someone entirely different. Like that's hard to watch from a friend's perspective.
Exactly. But even so too, like Sasuke, I think grew even more attracted to Maruo because of that. Like there's a little moment where she's checking out his forearms. You know, she's just like, wow, check out those forearms. That must be from tennis or something. Mm-hmm. And I think there's even a part 2 where Kageyama's talking to Satsuki, and Satsuki's like, you know, Maruo seems different on the court. Like he seems more passionate, you know? And then Kageyama's like, oh yeah, that means in other words, you like him even more now, huh? And then Satsuki's like, baka, idiot, that kind of thing. But yeah, so anyways, the reason I like all this is because it reminds me of a show that didn't do romance very well. And I'm talking about Chihaya Furu.
False.
An anime that I like to shit on.
but I like to defend passionately.
So Chihaya Furu, you've got that love triangle between Chihaya, Taichi, and Arata. Mm-hmm. But I just didn't feel it. Like it wasn't like this anime where in this anime, at least for Natsu, it wasn't like stupid like in Chihaya Furu, because like Chihaya is like oblivious to Taichi and Arata, or Taichi's not even trying really. Like Taichi barely tries, and Arata is just
he doesn't try for a very specific reason. Taichi doesn't try because he knows that Chihaya Furu loves Arata, so there's nothing he can do
bullshit.
in that situation.
That's such bullshit, because you know why? Arata's hardly in the show anyways.
That's true.
So why? What is he scared of? Anyways, I'm just comparing the two, And I just like the way that they did it in this anime more than in that. I just feel like this is a good example of how to do romance in an anime.
Yeah, I wish there was maybe a little bit more of the romance hit upon throughout the series instead of like checkpoints. Like, it's at the beginning, then at the school festival, and then at the end, which is like, beginning, middle, end. I wish there was a little more development throughout, but still really good.
Yeah, very good. I guess that's it, really.
Yeah, that's probably
anything else you can think of?
Nothing too much of the spoilers. Where do you think? I guess it's hard to say. Like, where do you think the show's going to go? Because there is a season 2, so anyone listening to this might know where it goes. But yeah, so nothing really.
Yeah, I guess it would. Well, I guess we could talk a little bit about because what I really liked too was that gamble he had, where it was like, wait, his proposal to his parents was, if I win this junior tournament, then I'm going to pursue pro tennis. But if I lose, I'm going right back to studying and I won't play tennis again. I just thought that was a really cool, well-presented presentation because it really reflected his character. Like, that's something he would do.
Yeah.
And I also like that we got to see both parents, too. Usually we only get to see one parent for some reason in animes, but here we get to see the mom and the dad. Even though the dad usually isn't there.
Yeah, I thought for an instance we weren't going to see the dad. Like, the dad was going to be like this presence who was never there. But, I mean, this is a big decision that you're going to need your parents to be involved with. So, like, and that's why that scene was pretty good when he presented his options. It introduced stakes to the narrative that, like, weren't probably there before because, like, now he has to win a lot of these matches.
Exactly.
But then also, it's like, I kind of laughed when, like, the dad's just like, you can do it. Like, yeah, sure. And the mom just, like, looks at him like, okay. Like, thanks for consulting me.
Uh-huh.
But then she was like, I hopefully he does do this because then he'll never, I hope he loses. So he knows in his head.
Yeah.
It's sad.
And I also just think that, like, I wonder if he will actually win the junior tournament. I wonder if that opening is about the last match in the junior tournament or something. Because he's playing that one guy and he's like in a big stadium and everyone's cheering for him and he seems really, just really into this win that he just all right.
So do you think for the junior tournament, do you think he's going to win or lose?
I'm honestly not sure. I think it would be very odd if he won still because he has to beat everyone at this tournament as an unseeded player and against really. That's true. That's true. But still, he still has to beat like a lot of good players to win, which I guess it's reasonable for him to win. And I guess it would make more sense if he did win so that he could continue pursuing tennis pro. But like, wouldn't it be interesting if
he doesn't have to beat Takuma, right? Like Takuma's not in that, is he? Because he's advanced to the next stage.
Oh, that's right. He's a pro now. He's not a junior anymore. So yeah.
So really,
I mean, like, I think it would be interesting, like, if he lost and his parents were still like, you know what? Just go for it. Like, you
give it another year.
You did really, really good. Yeah, exactly. Baby steps,
Baby steps. And there are 400 issues of this anime. It'd be weird if he wins of this, I think, right? Isn't there like 400 going and still going or something?
There's a lot. I mean, this has been going for 10 years now. So there's a lot of material there. It's going to be a while for us to catch up in the anime sense.
Well, the deal in anime, there's only one more season after this, right? There's another 20 episode season, or is there 3 seasons?
Yeah, but I don't necessarily know if that's going to cover everything because it might be that they won't have a season 3 and they just kind of end it.
It probably won't. Like, I think
not sure.
I'm going to do the same. This is like an anime that I'm probably going to do the same exact thing that I did with Chihara Foru. I haven't done this with the other animes in the sense where it's like I'll probably read the manga afterwards, like just to see where the story goes. Cause I'm curious because I don't know if I'll ever get a 3rd season.
You're reading the manga on Chihaya Foru?
Yeah, I got super far into it.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, we talked.
You really like it.
I did, and it's really good.
I knew that you watched the 2nd season. I just didn't know that you read the manga too.
Oh man, I'll tell you about it later.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so should we end the spoilers now?
I think so. I think that wraps up basically everything.
All right, ending the spoilers right now. We're back from Spoiler Land,
where we will go into our rating system. Right?
Our rating system. That wrong? That's right. Yeah, you got it. We're in the rating system land. now.
Rating system lambs. Jeff, how do we do our rating system around here in these parts?
Okay, so 1 star means you don't like it and you're not going to watch it again. 2 stars means you like it and you are still not going to watch it again. 3 stars is you like it and you will rewatch it if a friend invites you over to watch it again. 4 stars is you like it so much that you will buy it so that you can rewatch it of your own will. 5 stars is you like it, you love it, you will buy it, and you will rewatch it, or at least some parts of it, once every year. And I know this rating system kind of is dumb, but I kind of based it off of like rewatchability and whether or not you'd spend money on it. But yeah, I just wanted each point to be like a specific thing. So anyways, with that in mind, Kobe, what do you give this anime?
I think it's tough when we've only seen a part of the story to fully rate the things, but I think this has the potential to be a 4-star anime. I think it's really engaging. It's a great story. There's a lot of episodes, so I guess it'd be tough to buy, but it'd be like one of those animes when it's like there's so many episodes and it's so good. It's like, man, this is a really good show that I'm proud I own.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But depending on how it sticks the landing. But overall,
as it stands?
Yeah, but overall as it stands, just on a quality level, I think this is a 4 out of 5-star anime.
Okay. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, you? I said, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I would give this a solid 3 stars out of 5, which, I mean, I've talked really good things about it, so it might sound like I should have given it a bigger score, but like a 3 stars to me is still like really good. Like that's quality stuff. That's, the only reason I wouldn't give it a 4 is because as it stands right now, I wouldn't buy it because there's really no, like, as solid as it is, there's no really moments that made me feel like pumped or like any kind of emotion. Like I like a show that makes me feel really strongly, like some kind of emotion, I think earns like a 4 in some sense. But
yeah,
depending on how the rest of the show goes, yeah, I think you're right. I think it could easily be elevated to a 4 depending on how it handles the upcoming season. But for now, a solid 3 out of 5.
All right, cool.
All right, cool. We did it. We made it. We did our baby steps.
We took our baby steps to finish this podcast.
Indeed. Next week, we are going to be doing Kuroko no Basket, otherwise known as Kuroko's Basketball. So hopefully you're excited for that. It's a pretty popular sports anime these days. Kobe, where can they find us?
You can find us online. We're at nerdblaze.com. We kind of post these podcasts along with some other reviews and some other cool entertainment stuff. You can find us on Twitter. Follow us. We're at the Nerdblaze. We tweet some stuff every now and then. It's pretty cool. You can follow us or subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is Nerdblaze, of course. We have all these podcasts up there along with some cool videos that Jeff kind of worked on. And then you also subscribe to us on iTunes or really anywhere where you can find podcasts. So really, we're in a lot of places.
We got our sticky fingers and a lot of pies.
Sticky fingers and a lot of pies.
Trademark.
That's what we should be known for. Sticky fingers and pies.
Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed listening to this. It was fun. We'll see you guys next week.
See you guys next week.
Bye.